Seems legit.
Hello Legitimates, welcome back to my channel. Today we are making notebooks with the laser. So this is actually a pretty easy project. It is a little bit fiddly, but all you really need is some wood, a notepad, and I'm using stain as well. So to stain things, I wear gloves so that my hands aren't always like black, and I just cut off a piece of sponge. That's pretty much all you need for this entire thing. I'm using plywood because I like how plywood stains. If you would prefer to paint it, then you can obviously use an MDF. So let's just get into it. So this is the notebook that we want to design, and you can see on the screen that I have already designed one. But we're going to just kind of go through the basics to show you how to do it. So first we need a rectangle. Now you obviously measure this, but for the purposes of this, I'm just going to draw one to show you how to do it. So up here, you will click unlock the aspects and then change these. Let's change them to whole numbers. And I have to let the dog in. All right, so let's just show you how I did it. You can see on the screen I have already made one. So these are the notebooks that I'm using. They are A7. Obviously in America you've probably got different sizes, but we run on an A system here. So these are what I found. The important part of the notebooks is that you get the ones where these are like hooks that you can open. So the idea is you'd take, if you're going to do both, you take the front and the back off. My personal opinion is that you only do the front and not the back, because 2 bits of wood in that little thing doesn't sit and it doesn't move very well. So if you wanted to replace the back, you could just put a piece of cardstock that you cut with your Cricut, and then just do the front as wood. I'm probably going to just leave the back as blue, but let's start with this. So we need a rectangle. So we come over here and we click a rectangle, and then we draw one. It doesn't matter what it is until you've measured it. We're going to click this little button here, and that will unlock the ratio, and then you measure across and down. Now I'm just going to make it up. So we're going to do 90 across and 120. And that's the rectangle that I'm going to use. So then you want to count how many holes you've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to need 7. And then you need to measure the hole. Now I do remember this measurement. It was 3 mil by 4 mil. So again, we're going to unlock the ratio, and we're going to do width of 4 mil, height of 3 mil, because they are slightly longer than they are taller. I like a square. You can turn these into circles. I am about to sneeze. Oh my gosh. There we go. Right, so we take that and then we copy and paste 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to select, actually we move that, and we're going to select all of those, and we're going to distribute them vertical align center. So this one here. Then we're going to bring it up here. Now you also need to measure how far in from the end they are. So again, I'm just going to make it up for right now. So we're going to lay that one there, and then we grab, let go of that one, grab this one, bring it all the way over here, and you can see that you get lines so that you can line it up evenly. So let's pretend that we've measured that that's the right space and that's the right space. Now you can click it, hit shift, select all of them like so, and then we're going to go to distribute horizontally, and that will perfectly align them all like so. Now, obviously, my rectangle is not to scale because that's what we're aiming for, but that would be how you build it. You just need to take a measuring something. I like millimeters because you can get really specific. I understand that Americans prefer inches, but like 3/16 of an inch, that's just really hard. Millimeters, you just count them, but you can do it however you like. It's funny, I sew in inches and I craft in millimeters and centimeters. My brain does both, apparently. So anyway, there you go. So that's what you would do, and then you would select it all, right-click, and group it. Now, this is already on a red, but I always set my cut lines to red, so you can right-click and change the cut lines to whatever you like, and then you just import the picture that you want to put on it. It's literally as simple as that. So with that being said, now we need to, I've already got the depth because I've run this a lot. I'm literally 1 short. So we're doing this as the final one for my stack of 20. I don't know how I managed it, but I got 19 out of my other bits of wood. It'll be fine. So I have grouped the picture as well. So when I hover over it like this, you can just click and select all of it and then move it around. I do always suggest that you group the cut lines and then you do a second group with the picture. So you can ungroup the picture, move it, and then change it. So if you're going to like run these and sell them with lots of funny different sayings, the cut parts will then be always grouped and you can then just change out the pictures. It just helps down the road if you're going to cut lots of these. If you're only doing the one and one ever, different story. You probably don't need to worry. So with that being said, we now need to go to the machine so that we can do our marking. So first we're going to click on the thing that looks like, it just reminds me of a golf flag, hole in one. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Mark processing area. And I usually always have rectangles of wood. So we're going to click that and head over to the machine. Okay, so this is my piece of wood. It's a little piece, obviously. Now, normally when it's a big bit, I put it in the corner. But because this is small, I'm going to put it in the middle because I've got the run set to quite high. So we're going to start in this corner here, and we're going to get the edge of the crosshairs in that corner. Click, diagonally down here. Line it up properly, click, and then I always like to push it kind of in the middle towards the back because this is its start and stop position when it's lasering. So I just like to push it out the way. Personal preference. I'm also going to shut the lid now because I don't have to come back to it, and now we need to go back to the computer. All right, so now we hit end marking and done, and this is now the space we work in. So I'm going to position it. I always do bottom corner, but I always leave, I never put it right on that line. So we're going to just leave a little bit of a gap either side. That's just to make sure that my lining's not off. Now, this is 3mm plyboard that I bought in a big sheet from Bunnings and then chopped it down. Usually I cut it into 50 by 30 pieces, but there's always like some random little bit left, and that's what that is. So my engraving is 60 and 300. I'm actually going to crank that up to 90 just so it's a little bit deeper, but I like that it's fast. That, ironically, is also the same settings I use for tumblers, not Yeti ones, but like generic tumblers. They are great settings. I'm going to leave it at 100 lines per centimeter. It's not jewelry, so it doesn't need to go up, in my opinion. I did all the rest not up, so that'll be fine. And then my cut lines, for me, on my 20 watt, I do 100% power, 9 millimeters per second, and I do 2 passes. Most of the time it'll cut in one, but there's always that instance where there's like bits that don't quite cut. So I prefer 2 passes, and then I know it will always lift out. Does it take longer? Yes. Peace of mind, totally worth it, especially because I didn't line that up in the corner. If I was to touch it and then it hadn't cut, trying to line that bug up again would be a nightmare. So we just skip that drama and do it the other way. So with that being said, I always zoom out. I don't know why. Habit. I like to be able to see what's going on. We're going to click process. I've already connected mine, but pretty much when I turn the laser on, it automatically connects, which I love. And it's going to take 5 minutes and 53 seconds. So we're going to hit start. It always tells me this. I believe it's like a warning to make sure that you don't leave the house while it's burning because you don't want to burn anything down. With that being said, I have, in fact, never caught fire. This laser has never had to stop because of heat problems. If you're finding that you're getting like a flame warning, it also might be because there's sun directly on the laser. So these are blockout curtains to prevent that, and the sun from over here, not so bad. So we're going to click OK. You hear it beep. We're ready to hit start. I like to show the laser, but I also like to speed it up because nobody wants to sit here for 5 minutes and watch it do its thing. You also can't really see from the angle, so sorry about that. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to click finished, and then I've got a second tab open. We probably don't need all of them. Let's just have one. So this is how I did the other one. So I took this first design and I copied and pasted it into here so that I could get this the right size. So you can see there's a gap along the bottom here. That is for the holes. Now, the first time I did this, I had the gap at the top. So when you open the book, all of the inside message was upside down. So annoying. It's fine. I fixed the problem. So we need to have the gap at the bottom, and we need to turn the thing upside down. And then I have just made it so it fits just inside this rectangle. However, we need to delete those areas and we need to mark the next one. So again, we're going to do the rectangle thing and we're going to go over and mark it the same way we did. Okay, so that is now all marked. We're going to click end marking, obviously, and so that is going to show us where I have put the wood. So then we're just going to slide this on over. Now, because I've done this marking area, this will actually center up. See that blue line that just showed up? It will center up for you, and then you just want to have it really close to the top. So I click it to the top. It did that automatically, and then I just go down like a smidgy tiny bit, and that's it. So you can see there's a gap along the bottom. It's centered in the space that I told it to be centered in. And again, I've got the same settings. So 90, 300, 100 lines per centimeter. You can add more if you want. But that's done. So we're going to click process. It's going to think about it. It only takes 6 minutes. Start. When you do multiples, it's actually quicker. It takes about 4 to 5 minutes when you've got a few of them lined up. So let's go hit start on that side. So I sped this up to the same speed as the first one, which is 32 times its normal speed. But it does do top to bottom, so it only kind of has to do one pass, and it looks awesome. Okay, so you're going to want gloves for this part. I always do staining outside just because I can. If you don't have an outside, you might want to put down a tarp. This doesn't matter if it gets covered in stuff. So I am using the Monocell Stain and Varnish. It is oil-based. It's walnut. I usually get a water-based because it's easier to clean up, but they were out. So I'm impatient. I get what I can get. Probably shouldn't use scissors to open things, but here we are. Now, I like to use a piece of sponge. This is probably too big for the project we're doing. So we'll cut it in half, and then that way I'll get another use out of it. So I have started staining some other stuff, so I'm probably going to finish that as well. But what we do is we take this and we dip it in the stain, and then I wipe off all the excess because we don't need that much stain for something so small. And then you want to go with the grain of the wood, mostly. I say that because I'm actually going to put circles just to make sure I get everywhere, and I really, really want to rub it into the design. But then when we finish, we come across and see we pick up any extra with the sponge. And back and forth, and that's that side done. Now I'm going to do the same side, or the other side at the same time. So again, I'm going to dip in and I'm going to wipe off that excess because again, it's too much. And then again, I'm going to rub circles in circles, all the circles, just to make sure it really gets in to all of those little nooks and crannies of the laser. You also want to make sure you get the corners. And then I'm going to, so see how it's all a bit muddy? We're then going to go with the grain and wipe off that excess. Now that discoloration there is actually just the grain of the wood. It will happen. And then to do these ones, I lean them on an angle like that to let them dry. Now I'm in Townsville, but it is muggy, so it'll probably take a couple of hours to be properly dry. We'll see how we go. All right, so here's some that are already dry. We don't need to wait for the other one to be dry to show you how to finish off. So both sides are stained, and then here's the notebooks. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some scissors and cut off the front. You can undo it if you want, but I find this is way easier, and I have already done a few of these, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. Chop that off like so. Now, when we put this on, we're going to touch it to the back and we're going to show the inside because this needs to flip over. So you need to think about that. Now, I like to take my little scissors here and just lift up the loops a little bit. You can use your fingers, but I feel like after I do 20 of these, it's actually going to hurt, and I don't want that. So I might also flip over that cover just for a second. Maybe, maybe not. No, they're not going to let me. Okay, so we're just going to grab it, lift it open. like so. So you can see now that they're all weirdly open. It's fine. We're going to put this one on. So we're going to hold it, or you can hold it to the front, whatever suits you best. But we're going to put it all through the loops like so, and then we're going to take the back piece and make sure it's on as well, like so. And then you just want to pinch the teeth back together. So you want them fairly close to these bars at the back, otherwise everything's going to fall off, which is obviously not what we want. Flip the back piece to the back. See, that just came off because I didn't squish the loops close enough. It is really important that you get them really, really close to the other parts, or it will just come off, and that's not what we want today. It is a little bit fiddly, not gonna lie. But I'm just gonna keep bending these back. Now, if you've got a binding machine, this is probably way easier for you, but I don't, so we have to do everything manually, which is fine. If I decide to do notebooks as a permanent thing, I might find like a machine that I can get to do this for me. But there you go. And then there should still be enough room for it to move. See, like that. And that's pretty much a notebook. I think that came out really cute. You just got to get the circles right. So see this one works as well. You've just got to fiddle with them after you've squished them. It just takes a minute. But this is also why you can't do a front and a back with these particular bindings, because it will not fit. So keep that in mind. If you find one with really big circles at the top, I have seen them, you could do a front and a back, it wouldn't be an issue. But when you've just got the little circles, just the front works beautifully. So there you go, guys. That is how I made these notebooks. Please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel to see all the future things I plan on doing. And you should give this video a like as well, because you've made it this far. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!